Welcome back to the Value Add Show with Jake and Drew. Today we got Adrian Salazar. Adrian is an absolute shark and does whatever it takes to reach his goals. Adrian, thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys, for the invite. Happy to be on.
Yes, absolutely. For those who don't know, just give us a quick background on your story real fast, and then we'll kind of dive into what all you got going on.
Sure, yeah. So I got started in real estate, I would say about 17 years old. But really got started introducing myself to the idea of personal development, got introduced to mentors early on. So, when I came into real estate, I already had that, mindset that I wanted more. And, there was other ways, to grow a team and to, live a life by design. And so found real estate and really, met a mentor and started working for them, learning the business. And from there, started wholesaling houses, started learning that side of the business, finding deals. We did about 80 some houses. So backtrack. So got started in multifamily real estate about 3 years ago. Applied the same concepts that I was finding to deals and houses to multifamily. Started off with a small 16 unit, bought it, raised money, then a 32 unit, then a 43 unit, then a 42, 88, 200. So now currently we have about 700 apartments. We own them, manage them, do the construction management, the asset management, the property management, all in-house. Me and my business partner, and we have a team of about 15, 20 people that run it. We are in some heavy value adds, some heavy lifts, primarily in Texas. And that's just, I've been in it for about 8-9 years now. So that's a little bit of my background.
That's awesome. Love it, man. And you just got back from Iceland, if I'm not wrong. And just touch a little bit on Masterminds and how that experience was, and I guess mentors in general.
Yeah, it was great. I like being around other people that, are vibrating at high frequencies, that are making, power moves and thinking differently and doing above average things. And you can't really you can't find that anywhere other than, some power masterminds that are out there. And you can't just, show up to these events. I mean, you have to be, a player, you have to be making moves, you have to know some people in there. So it just puts you in a room full of people that, want above average things, and it rubs off. And, we leave with new networks, new people, new, strategies, new ideas. So I love being a part of those. I love going to, personal development seminars. I like, the Tony Robbins rah stuff. I like the Jim Rohn studying. I love all that stuff. I'm addicted to it. So, the power of mastermind groups is super important. So I, always tell everybody, show up to all the RIAs, show up to all the events, go show your face, meet people. That way you grow your network, because it's really helped.
Let's dive right in. So in, I believe, 45 days or so, you're closing on a 235 unit. Can you give us a little background on that deal and kind of the business plan?
Yeah, so that's actually a deal. Mom and pop owner, they actually built it. I generated that lead about 3.5 years ago. So it's been a follow-up. It's been, rapport building, relationship building. They've been an investor on some other, our deals in the past. And, we're here local. So they, mom and pop being a business, local mom and pop operation, they want to make sure that, it stays in the hands of a local, investor, someone who's going to, actually make a difference in the property and not just buy it and hold it like, some other big hedge funds. So, they, ended up, it was a long story, very aggressive marketing that we do. But ended up locking it in 26 million, and we're going to be raising, well, actually we have one investor. So we're JVing, and he's going to bring all the money. He's a 1031 tax exchange that he's going through. So, he's our only investor, and we're going to, turn that property around. Right now it's doing really well, very new, very good. But they're about $200 below market rent, and they have no rubs. They have no, admin professional side of things. They're just holding the money and keeping tenants in there for a long time. So it's not so much of a construction value add, more of a operational value add. And we'll probably refi out in a few years and pay off investors and then ride it out. So that's kind of that deal. It's 3 properties, and it's been a fight. I mean, I was following up for a long time, facing other brokers, facing other investors, but you got to get through and got through the noise and sell them.
That's awesome, man. So did they build that property then, those current owners?
Yeah, they built it.
They did?
Yeah, so they were.
No, that's impressive. I think the hard part Was the hardest part of that keeping, I guess, brokers out of that? I'm sure, we see it in our market nowadays, especially a unit that size or a portfolio that size. That's right. I mean, that's a bread and butter for any investor that's looking to buy a property because it has that scale. I guess, did you find that being an issue with this owner, and then obviously with other deals that you're looking at, trying to go directly to owner? We see it all the time as well. It's really hard to actually get those deals locked in that are, let's say, 100 plus units because of the fact that they have brokers calling them all the time, telling them, they can get this price or they have this other buyer, whatever it may be.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I haven't really had too much of a pushback, to be honest with you, from the experience that I have so far. Just because I do my best to, not come off like I'm over here just trying to make them an offer. Like I don't come off as, trying to, pay cash for their apartment building. Like, no, I want to build a relationship. I want to get to know them. I want to share with them, what we do locally. And of course, with the end result of, buying their property, because I'm ultimately calling them about something. So I mean, then what I've also noticed is that the owners, they kind of want to talk to the buyer, they want to talk to the buyer. Sometimes they don't like talking to even the broker just because, they're not a decision maker. They're not going to be the one who's going to ultimately be responsible for the closing. They're just kind of brokering the deal. And, when you're talking to the buyer, it's a different story. It's a different conversation, and things get done faster. Things get changed faster. Things get, maneuvered throughout the deal because these deals, they're intense. There's so much back and forth. And when you have to go through multiple people to get to, an answer and then wait, it's a little challenging. But I know some really good brokers out there that send us deals, and we've bought deals from brokers before. But from my experience, I'm, way back in single family when I was looking for deals for houses, I was aggressive, boots on the ground. And that's the way I continue to be in multifamily, even on large scale. And there is ways to find the owners of those apartment complexes. And we've gotten really good at it. So that's something we pride ourselves in.
That's awesome. So you mentioned being super aggressive and also, doing whatever it takes, like I said in the bio. Is there a story where you call it like a red eye to meet a seller? It might be like Thanksgiving or something. I want to hear that again. That's crazy.
Yeah. So there's actually, now I added another story we similar.
Let's go.
Very quickly. I'll tell you the similar one, a little more detail, but the 88. So it was an 88 unit apartment complex, and we had probably 50 apartments at the time. So it was like one of those deals that was like, this is going to put us on the map, And we were raising about $2.3 million. The second largest raise we did on that, prior to that time was 300,000. So it was almost, way beyond what we had done before. So very challenging just raising that. This was about a year and a half ago. And we finally got to the raise, and then we needed like a week and a half of an extension from the seller. And the seller ended up just, I'm not going to give you the extension, and that's it. And like complete just went MIA off the radar. Attorneys talked to attorneys, and they were just saying no. And so I think it was a day before Thanksgiving, and everyone on my team was kind of freaking out. I did not want to go back to my investors and have to give them back money. We're going to lose $350,000. It was definitely going to come out of me and my partner's pocket. I'm not going to go and short my investors, 95% of what they invested in me just because they invested in me. Like that's absolutely not what I was about to do. But I wanted to make sure that I did anything it took for that deal to go through. And so the majority owner lived out of town. He was in Lubbock and found a flight, showed up to his house, and I basically skip traced all the rental properties he had, any kind of sort of, contact that I could have, this person. I skip traced him, made a, Google map, a bunch of pins, and rented a car. And I was, out hunting, looking for him, but ended up finding him, and he opened the door and went in there, 8-hour conversation, ended up extending the contract, and we got the deal done. But very uncomfortable feeling. It was very uncomfortable. I didn't know, and I had to, be okay with the fact that we might lose. It was just a battle between like, no, we got to do it, and accepting the fact that I could take a loss here. It was very weird, but I got it done. And just recently, we bought a 280 unit complex about 2 months ago, and same kind of situation. The there was a broker offering $1 million more than us, and the seller had already signed my LOI, and I had already built 3 weeks of rapport with him, legit. And one day he calls me and says, someone else is offering $1 million more. And I said, no, thank you. You already told me. And, I already had PSA going. I already had attorneys, drafting everything, spent money on attorneys. And then I found a flight from San Antonio because he told me he was going to sign the deal with the broker the following morning at 10 a.m. And so I found a flight from San Antonio to California to get there about 9. And so I had to drive from where I'm at now to San Antonio to be able to make that flight. So I also red-eyed. I didn't sleep. So I drove San Antonio. I went to San Antonio, got on the plane, found his house, super intimidating. Multi-millionaire. Calabasas, just to give you an idea, is where I had to go. And knocked on his door, opened the door, got the contract signed, and we bought a 280-unit apartment complex. So I don't know. A lot of people tell me, we're at about 700 apartments, but it's been a fight. Every single one of those units has been a fight. But it's fun, I enjoy it. And
Drew, this guy's insane. I love it.
Yeah, that's great. It is really, I can relate a lot to that, especially when a lot of the deals I find I'm going directly to seller, or, we do have broker relationships as well, where we'll get a call potentially before it actually hits the market. And, we try to jump on it that day, and we do everything we can over the next, 24 hours to put a number on paper that, we're not going to retrade at. We're solid on the deal, and we're putting a lot of money hard day one. And so I can relate a lot to that, and the pressure, and, you have to obviously believe in yourself and the property, and really put your best foot forward. I've never flown somewhere to get a deal done like that. That's awesome. That's really impressive. I can respect that for sure. And that takes a lot of balls to go to that owner's house, and knock on his door. Not a lot of people would do that. And I'm sure that person that opens the door that currently owns that property is thinking the same thing. Like, man, this guy's crazy. He's definitely, he wants this deal and he's going to close. And, that goes a long way to a seller as well.
Sure. I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I don't really like doing this, but so that seller is the one who's our investor on this 1031, this 200.
Oh, is that right?
So it was done double. So that one red eye, little red eye, man. So it's like you can do anything you set your mind to, straight up. Like you can do anything you set your mind to. And if you put yourself in the position, if you listen to the signs and you apply and you execute on those signs, you're good. You're golden. You'll be all right, and enjoy it. Yeah. Enjoy the process. So it's pretty crazy, but I love it, man. I'm excited for what's not here yet.
Yeah, for sure. There's that guy then, does he own a lot of units around the country, or is he just kind of here and there?
No.
Or was
this is it.
Oh, nice.
So because I went over there, he knew what kind of person I was, right? So now he's trusting, us on an operation of a lot of money, because he saw my character, right? So pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. So on that deal that you bought from him when you went to his house, did you syndicate that deal from other investors?
Yeah.
So how are you finding your investors right now?
A lot of them through the years of being in real estate, right? Now it's gone to just a snowball effect. In the beginning, it was very hard. I like to refer back to the very beginning. But, they come from social media. I try to stay very, very active. I know people, that have invested with us that I've never met, I've never seen, I've never talked to. And they say they follow me on social media and they say that they love what I'm doing on social media. And I'm just like, I'm awesome. When I meet them, when I bump into them in a meetup or something, I feel bad because I don't know them and they know me, But another one is just the personal brand, right? I've never, throughout my years in real estate, people know that I've been serious about what I say, and I do what I say I'm going to do, and I protect people's money, and I do the right deal, do the right thing always. I don't cut corners, and people like that, and they see that over the years, and they'll throw 25 grand, 30 grand, and now they're throwing 100, 150, 150. We've also had some exits, so that's helped us tremendously. And we have investors continuing to just compound with us. We have a couple partners too that we partner with to do these big deals. That 280 unit complex was a $21 million purchase. So, we had to raise $8 million in 45, 50 days. And it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Like, it literally stresses you out. Like, it pushes you to your limits. I mean, before you go to bed and you're just by yourself and no one around, like, you already have a commitment. You have all this pressure. I mean, like, people are counting on you. Like, I'm literally sitting over coffee, taking people's, investments and just knowing that they're trusting me with all their lifelong money. And that's a different kind of pressure, especially with $8 million. And if we don't, the other pressure is if we don't do the deal, we fail to do the deal, we lose $500,000. And I mean, that's a lot of money. So, but I love it. I love the pressure, and it's just part of the process, commercial real estate's fun.
That's awesome.
Absolutely.
So, Adrian, earlier you touched on, you said it was a 3-year process with some of these sellers. So, I mean, take me back 3, 4, 5 years when you first started in multifamily. I kind of want to get in the weeds on this. Like, what are you doing to find deals? What's the CRMs? I'm curious. Like, just I want to hear it. Let's get into it.
So, what I would recommend is pick a couple markets, pick a couple cities, 2, 3 cities that not too far from you, maybe, or somewhere for sure. And pull a list on what I would do is use a couple different list providers, ListSource, Reonomy, Prospect Now, CoStar, even, just county records. Pull all those lists and then create a master spreadsheet with all those, right? Like a master cross-reference all of them, and then you create your own master for 2, 3 cities. Then, the owners, right? Some of the owners, depending on how big or small the complex, they're going to be LLC owners, GPs, LPs. And then, there's public sites for you to find the owners of those LLCs. I've even gone through LinkedIn and found them. I've gone through just Google and found them. So, typically I'd have a VA go through all those, scrub your list is what I call it. Scrub it down to the, dot as much as you can. And then once you have it scrubbed, then I would send it off to a VA, pull phone numbers, and another one that pulls emails. And then from there, one by one, I mean, nothing crazy. It's not rocket science. One by one, start calling them, cold calling. You're going to suck at first, but you're going to start getting the hang of it. And ask the right questions and send the offers. And some are going to hit, some are going to bite, some are going to call you back and go out, see the property, make an offer. Make offers. And what I started doing was wholesaling the apartments. So I started off, I did about 6, 7 apartments wholesales before I bought my first one, just so I could see the process and make some money, throughout that as well. So pull the list on the CRMs. I kept track of it through Podio. I created just my own very basic, name, number, maybe a little campaign that I had on MailChimp, and a lead status, follow up, in 7 days, cold lead, hot lead, warm lead, not now. So, very simple. And I would create tasks for myself and have a calendar, stay organized. And I would just bang out calls, like just bang out calls and go walk apartments, it was just a massive action. Now I don't even have time that much time to go out and find those deals like that, because now we're operating, but that's kind of what I would just take massive action, pull a list, don't overthink it. Just start calling, start sending letters, postcards, tell them, hi, my name's Adrian. I just moved here from California. I'm looking to pick up, some apartment complexes in the city. I'm new to here, and I'm not looking to go through a broker. Just want to go direct. And, just something simple in a postcard, just send it off and start generating leads. And it's not really too hard. If you don't know kind of how to underwrite the deal or anything, find a buyer, find someone who is buying, and find deals for them, and then learn from them. And then you'll eventually learn,
Are you still calling yourself, or do you have VAs cold calling at this
point? Sometimes I'll call. I'll even show up to their house, right? So, but sometimes if I really want a deal, if I really, really, really want a deal, I'll stop everything I'm doing, and I'll already know how to skip trace it, so I'll do it myself.
Heck yeah. Are you doing anything else besides cold calling and postcards as far as acquisitions?
No, there's a couple brokers now. That send us deals. In the beginning, no brokers would. It wouldn't take us seriously, right? But now it's just an influx of overpriced deals. But I don't tell them no, or I don't block them. I just keep getting them and tell them what I'm looking for, and hopefully one will hit. But I don't wait for the deals to come to me, though. I don't wait. I attack. I'm always on offense. I'm always on offense. I'm always looking for deals, looking for money, looking for, strategies on how to run the operation better. I'm always attack, attack, attack. And so that just tends to attract more, you're going to get more leads if you're pushing more content out. But, it's part of the process. Yeah.
Let's get into, I'm curious on the construction, because I know you've done, definitely some value add deals. I guess, what's your construction team look like? What's kind of the cost per door? And do you have like a cookie cutter process you guys have for as far as like fixtures, appliances, all that stuff?
Yeah. So most of these loans we have a reno budget. So we have to do draws and we have to be organized and we have to, know, plan 12, 18-month business plan. So we have it very, very organized. Our team knows, what to expect, the quality level of work. But me and my business partner, we both have a lot of construction background. I actually graduated with a construction degree in San Antonio. So kind of have a background of that. But my business partner has about 10 years of commercial construction experience. So he also taught me, 3-week look ahead schedules, estimating, planning, P6. Scheduling and all that stuff. So throughout, these years, I've learned a lot about that. So we still GC in-house and we have our subs. So our cost per apartment is about $6,000 to $8,000, sometimes a little bit less for materials and labor. And of course, we're in South Texas, so labor is a little bit, more affordable down here. And we get our materials through Amazon. I source them, I look for deals, and I try to stay within budget. And we push rents. But, I have guys who do carpentry. I have guys who do plumbing, electricity, everything. And they all are subbed out. So, I have general liability forms, blanket agreements, scopes of work. They all sign off on it. I have to submit it to the bank. They refund us. So I just have to stay very, very organized. And we're doing about $250,000 draws a month. So you can only imagine how much, chaos is happening internally.
When you buy these deals and you're going to go in and do value add, are you using like the same flooring in all your properties, same paint, same, cabinets, countertops, all of that? Or are you switching it up depending on the property?
So we kind of have a couple schemes. That way it's not just one. We do about 2-3 different schemes. And for flooring, we will get it out of state. We'll bring an 18-wheeler. They'll deliver pallets and we'll store them. We have pretty decent price on tile down here, about 50, 60 cents. So sometimes I'll put tile, like the modern looking tile. But LVT flooring is kind of what's been working for us to glue down. A lot of people know how to lay it. So that, is easier. But we open walls, we put, some nice robo light fixtures. We do recessed lighting. We do daylight instead of soft white, to make it very, very white, very, very bright. We try to light it up. A lot of lighting, ceiling fans with 3 light bulbs sticking out. We're all about lighting and modernization. Cabinet pools, brushed nickel cabinet pools, brushed nickel, faucets that are, tall and have the spring on it, make it look good. We definitely invest in the design part and we execute on it. And we make sure we, stay organized.
That's impressive. So with you guys GC, do you guys have any maintenance guys in-house besides your on-site maintenance staff, or is it mostly just on-site maintenance staff that are doing the day-to-day maintenance?
So the day-to-day would be the on-site maintenance. They take care of work orders, maintenance requests. We're on AppFolio, so people submit them through AppFolio. They get notified. And the CapEx stuff, we have third-party vendors for. But I kind of like that because, I've had some of my CapEx guys go and fix a leak in an apartment where, this guy's tied up. So I just like having a lot of guys there. Of course, when it makes sense, budget wise, but I like to have a lot of, separate trades there in case anything happens. But that way too, it doesn't slow anybody else down, because I also have my in-house maintenance guys do about 1 or 2 or 3, maybe make readies a month. So even though they have work orders, even though they have maintenance requests, they know that they need to be finishing 2 to 3 make readies a month. So if I send them somewhere else, then it slows them down. So I have to be able to staff the property right, and make sure that their workers that they staff their workers right as well, because they basically, the carpenter is going to have helpers. So making sure that he structures his guys well, and, everyone's being safe, everyone shows up on time. It's intense, but that's the name of the game. Later on, it'll stabilize, and it'll be producing without much hands-on stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense. And you mentioned AppFolio earlier. We use the same software. I know that they just rolled out the investor relations, or they have like some investor portal. Do you use that at all?
Yeah, that's the one we use.
How does that work? Do you guys like that?
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool. I don't know if y'all have seen Syndication Pro, but
no,
it's another investor software. It's probably one of the most popular ones when it comes to this for multifamily. But at Folio, since we had the property management side, it was a little, I guess, easier to make that decision to go to AppFolio Investor Management. But it's super cool. People love it. Username, password, shows all the investments, shows all the distributions, has all the documents for them, monthly updates. We, import them to the portal. It sends them an email to check out the update. Pretty cool software. It's awesome. It has pictures, PDFs, everything you need.
Are you guys sending out monthly distributions on those stabilized properties?
So they're not all of them. One of them, the 88 unit, is a monthly distribution. The others are quarterlies.
Gotcha. And when you're buying these deals, obviously, if there is a heavy lift up front, are you setting that up where do they not typically see a distribution for the first, 5 to 6 months until you get a lot of those units turned?
So we kind of lead with that expectation, right? We lead with, whenever I'm talking to my investors, that's where I'll lead with, 5, 6 months. Don't really expect nothing crazy or nothing because of what we're going to do, right? There's a lot of people we have to evict. There's a lot of money that's going to be lost on, bad debt, concessions, all those, negative items. They're going to be there. I'm not, going to come here and tell them that they're going to start getting distributions in 3 months and promise them the world. But yeah, so typically the first 90 days, we allow like the first quarter to go by. Maybe we'll do like a closing post closing distribution, kind of $100. That way everybody, gets their deposit correct, and they, the ACH information is correct. And $50, just something as a post closing to make sure that they have their account set up properly. And then typically we wait 90 days, and then, maybe a 1.5%. So typically we'll do like a pref of 6, pref of 7. And so, maybe the first quarter, depending on how heavy the lift is, 1%, 2%, 3%, and then slowly start kind of getting up there. To the average of anywhere between 8 to 10 is what we target, and 100% return in 3 to 6 years. So double your money in 3 to 6 years with cash flow. But in the beginning, especially on these value adds, they have to know what they're going to be expecting.
Yeah. I want to get into the management side. I'm curious, I see you guys own a management company, is it 210 Management?
210
Management, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. And when you got started, did you go into it with the idea that you were going to manage the properties, or did you start with third party and then realize that you had better efficiencies if you guys just did it in-house? And then kind of touch on how you built that management company alongside the real estate investment.
Sure.
Purchases.
Yeah. So when we started the 16 unit that we bought, we couldn't buy it without having a third party property management. Like the bank was just like, dude, you've never done this before. You have to hire a third party, right? So we looked around in our market, found some options, ended up hiring one, and since I was very involved, I'm very involved in like operations, and I caught myself still hiring the guys, managing the guys, because we were repositioning this 16 unit. So people were leaving. We had to be renting units quick. We had to be pushing rents like above, market, and their minds were not working like that. There's not a lot of people that, are in the management and maybe like a secondary, tertiary markets. In those primary markets, there's definitely property managers that reposition apartment buildings, but in those second, markets, tertiaries, it's hard to find those. So, so we ended up, changing property managers. I was still leasing apartments. I was even, sometimes painting the apartments, hanging the doors. doing whatever it took. Right. And so I said, we're paying her 8%. I mean, let's just change somewhere else. And the guy ended up being cheaper, 6%. So we were saving money. But ultimately, I was still leasing apartments. I was still hiring the guys. I was still managing them. Like, they weren't even there. They weren't showing up to the property. Like, they didn't care. And so my business partner was traveling. We both like to travel a lot. And he was traveling. And I called him one day and I said, dude, we're gonna fire this management company and we're gonna start our own. Like, that's it. And because we could start a property management company as long as we own the apartment buildings, right? We don't need a license for that. So he was like, dude, I mean, feel free, go ahead. So from that day on, we started 210 Management, and I took on rent collections. I took on, leasing. I took on everything. I was taking it on. It was about 70 apartments. I did it all myself, of course, with the help of my business partner. And then we hired, a property manager for when we bought the 88 unit. So she was our first employee. And then we got another assistant property manager. And then now, as we're buying more properties, it allows to hire more staff. So we choose them very carefully and make sure that they know what they're getting into, because these are heavy lifts. We're changing people's leases into brand new TAA leases. We're changing people into RUBS systems. So we use utility billing companies that ends up charging them for water, pest, trash, sewer. So that's a whole another ball game of its own. Lease renewals. Getting people out, changing roofs. Like, we've changed roofs completely on an apartment complex. I mean, coordinating cars moving out, a nail hitting a car and punching the tire. It's an intense position. So we look for people that, are sharks and are ready for this, because, in a year and a half, 2 years, they're going to have a stable property and it's going to be in great shape because we invested a lot of money into it, and they're going to be riding the wave. So they just got to, work with us in the first 6 to 18 months. Aggressively, and coast it, later on. But yeah, I mean, it's been challenging. I think there's a lot of stuff that we've learned. I've learned by, just being curious, going and asking the contractors questions, thinking of a solution, of a tenant's story that they told you, structuring, a payment plan, or getting them out. It's a constant, strategy building in your own head when you're in management, because again, you're also thinking like an owner. So that's a flip side. So you're not just thinking like a manager, you're thinking like an owner, and what's best for your investors, and what's safer for us, what's gonna be more aggressive. Like, I go in there wanting to push rents. I'm not trying to stay like where we are, right? I mean, what's another opportunity? Can we build for carports? Why aren't we building for carports? Like, that's not something that just a regular management company is going to be thinking about like every day, is billing for carports or increasing $5 here and there because it's been 6 months and nobody's gotten, an increase, right? So, I mean, something like that. It's just been very challenging to do and teach our staff, but we're getting there and we're awesome. And our staff is good right now. And I mean, we're doing amazing things, and they're all on board. They're all, motivated, inspired. They like the changes. And it's been about 3 years since we started that management company. So it's been a ride.
And do you have it above that? Do you have any like corporate staff, like acquisitions people, transaction managers, anything like that? Or is it mostly just you and your partner kind of running the actual purchasing of the assets?
Yeah, me and him run everything. Yeah, we're so involved.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we're super involved. I mean, we have acquisitions guys who bring us leads, right? And our staff, some people on my team definitely cold call and find deals and bring deals, and they're responsible for some of the deals that we've bought today. We give them equity, we give them shares, and so I mean, we do have some acquisitions guys, but the whole closing process. My business partner and I personally inspected 235 apartments these last 3 days, like me and him. We didn't hire anybody. We didn't have our staff do it. We don't have our vice president going into the apartments and our CFO. No, it's me and him. And we go in there and we put our eyes on the property. And now I know what I'm working with, and that's how we are. I mean, of course, we're going to have to kind of slowly start delegating later on, but as long as we can, we will do it ourselves.
I'm curious on some of these bigger properties, as far as like, hiring management and maintenance. We just acquired like a 444 unit property in Cedar Rapids, and all the staff left. Do you guys go into it, thinking to replace the staff, or do you go in and interview the current staff? What's kind of the game plan there on these bigger units?
90% of the time we go in with new staff. We'll staff it new.
New staff.
Typically, the people that I do sometimes like to keep are the maintenance guys, just because they know the systems, they know where everything's at, they know, like the shut off is here for a little bit, and then see how they adjust to the pace that we run at. And if they don't adjust, they'll go on their own. If they do adjust, they could be probably one of our best workers, because maybe the prior owner wasn't taking care of them properly, and we do. And so it just depends. But 90% of the time, people don't like the change that we do. I mean, we're aggressive, we're fast, we move. I mean, it's very tough.
We see that as well, especially when you were going on to find these site staff. A lot of them have been there for a long time with that same owner, and they kind of just get into the routine. And that's why you see those market rents drop well below market, just because they don't want to deal with any turnover. They're used to what's going on. And it's just the status quo for them. They don't care to make a change. And if their owner isn't on top of them to make those changes, nothing's going to happen. And so that's where asset management comes into place. And, having oversight from an owner's perspective, makes a huge difference on the actual value of the property and the operations.
Yeah. Agree.
I'm curious, what do you guys use any VAs for, like site management, or do you guys use them for, I guess, anything else inside your business?
So we use them for leasing too. We use them to post, on Facebook Marketplace, apartments for rent, Craigslist. We use VAs for scrubbing data. Whenever we want data scrubbed, we'll typically send it to them. Skip tracing, I use some VAs whenever I need to skip trace anything. But as of right now, I don't have people immediately every day working for me. It's really just when I need them.
Makes sense.
Gotcha.
I used to.
Adrian, you got any crazy tenant stories?
Crazy tenant stories?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was probably this. Yeah, so there was a time in our 16 unit, my first apartment complex, that I rented an apartment to a family, and I didn't even, do a background check. I asked them a few questions, and I put them in the apartment because I needed to put someone in that apartment. Big no, guys, do your screening. But at the time, I was just super fired up. And so I put this family in the apartment and ended up not being them as the tenant. So they ended up moving someone else in who was one of their caregivers. So the caretakers were taking care of this one person, and the caretakers were the ones that I rented the apartment to, I thought. And so they put this person in there, and she was disabled, and she had her certification that she was disabled, and she was an occupant on the lease. So, and I ended up, she was, crazy in the head. So she would every day leave her front door open, and she would just sing, and she would yell, and she would pretend, no joke, pretend that there's aliens coming down, and she was just very mental, very, very mental. And everyone in the property was freaking out, and they were calling the line, and she was having conversations with someone else, and no one was in front of her. Super crazy. And I was trying to get her out, but I couldn't because they were paying rent, and she was on the lease, and she was not hurting anybody, so it was a little bit of a challenge to get her out. But that went on for maybe 3 or 4 weeks before I was able to get her out. And that was so hard. That was intense. She hated me, and she was scaring my tenants away. And I was already at 70% occupied, and I was freaking out. And good thing I know a lot of people here in the city that I'm at. So they helped me. But through the transition of the property management changes, they ended up not knowing where to pay rent. And so they were behind. I didn't I put the notice, but I didn't really let them know the new method of paying the rent. So that helped be able to have them delinquent. And then I went through the eviction process, and they finally got it. So it was intense. But she was crazy. I have videos still.
Was that the 16 unit you were living at?
16 unit. Yeah, I actually lived in there. as well.
Yeah,
I moved
that's
from
funny. She
San
was probably
Francisco,
singing to the landlord, trying to.
sleeping on the floor, and jumping on Zooms like this with only 16 apartments. But I was wholesaling. I did about 4 6-figure wholesale deals, 32 units, 20 unit, and that really put me on the map, put me in a better position. And I was just on the road to buying more apartments. I wanted to own a lot, hundreds and hundreds. And we did it in about 2 years. So it's pretty cool. But started from the bottom. I painted an apartment. I hung doors. I messed up. I was installing a vanity one time, and I had the apartment leased, and I punctured a plumbing line. And everywhere flooded, everywhere. I was by myself late at night, and I was just pissed, man. I was like, man, do I really have to go through this? Like, I was just pissed internally because I was about to turn the apartment in. We had just finished a remodel. But things like that, that I went through really, make me grateful, feel grateful for where I'm at right now.
Yeah, and I think that's just part of the game. I can relate to a lot of those stories. I hired a contractor off of Craigslist on my first duplex I ever bought, and he was clearly on drugs, but he was getting most of the stuff done. And so I kind of just was limping it along and just kept paying him because I didn't have anybody else.
Yep.
And we were probably 99% of the way done. And he texted me at 4 a.m. saying everything was good to go because he was sleeping in the unit at the time, and I didn't know what I was doing. Well, I went there the next morning, and I think the last thing he did was install the washer and dryer, and he might have turned it on. And I went there, and I remember I opened the door, and the whole place had 3 inches of water in it because he didn't hook up the line correctly, and he just flooded the whole entire unit. And I never heard from him again because I called him, asked him what happened, and then he just disappeared. I've never seen him ever again. And I probably lost $7,000 or $8,000, but I learned a ton just off of that one experience to obviously never do that again. Yep. So you learn a lot from your mistakes in this business, and you make a lot early on, and then you kind of just build off of it from there. And, you learn a lot of life lessons for sure.
Yep. Agree.
It's all good experiences though. Hey, I've got a question for you. Are you related to Chris Salazar?
No.
Or is that no relation at all?
I don't.
Okay. He's
not
a
that I
real
know.
estate guy. I think he lives in Dallas. Okay.
Yeah, not that I know.
Same last name. I figured there may be some relation there.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Nice. Hey, you got any? We'll wrap it up here. But you got any morning or night routines that you kind of stick to? I know you're in the personal development, so I figured you had some kind of structure for your mornings and nights.
Yeah, so I try to wake up about 7, be out of bed by 7. I'm working on changing that up now. I want to wake up a little bit earlier. But 7, wake up, cup of water. I put on some either Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, just in the background as I'm getting ready. And then I either do a run or go to the gym, come back, eat breakfast, and I'm by my computer, 8:30-ish. That's when typically my phone starts blowing up. And I drive by the properties. We have about 600 here within 3 miles from where I'm at right now. So I kind of just drive around to check some of the CapEx stuff, check some of the operational stuff, meet with the staff, have meetings. I have meetings Tuesdays with the staff, Wednesdays with my business partner, Thursdays with some other business partners. So I kind of have a good routine throughout the week. And before I go to bed, I try to maybe get another gym workout. If I do cardio in the morning, then I'll go push weights later in the day. And then, get back home and put on some, another tape just in the background. Even if I'm not really paying attention to it, I still find sometimes that I catch certain things at certain times. Vision boards are always playing. So, I'm constantly putting myself in the right state of mind. That way I can attract more things that I, wish for. Right. And family time, making sure you stay healthy, eat right. I've been, working on eating better. It's just the daily stress of everything. You got to make sure that you take care of yourself as well.
Absolutely. Dude, when you get in the private plane, you're taking all these red eyes. When are you going to be like David Tupin and get the jet, get the little plane? Yeah, serious.
So my business partner is actually a pilot. So he just bought a plane. But now we're we can't really fly together. If something happens, then everybody's screwed, right? So,
yeah.
At least, we can't really do that, get used to that. But maybe a driver first, and then the plane. Not really too planey.
Gotcha.
Cool.
Well,
What's
hey,
next? I guess what are your plans in the next, year, 5 years with real estate?
So we've been talking about this fund that I've had a vision of this fund that I want to create of, normal people to invest money into this fund, and we choose to allocate it throughout, retail, storage, apartments, maybe some Airbnbs. That way, we can raise more money, because I feel like now the deal flow isn't that much of a problem. Now it's, what are the investors looking for? What kind of investors do you have? What's their, level of risk? How quick do they want their money back? So we have a kind of variety now. So we want to build this fund, about $5, $10, $15 million fund first, and then buy a bunch of projects and kind of just, hedge them across a bunch of different retail types, real estate types. And of course, operate these buildings. We'll still have them. We have a 5-year plan for all the buildings we have, and we've been buying them for a year and a half. So we're kind of not even in the stable, point yet, but we want to continue picking up more properties. Retail, we're under contract on like a 30-unit retail building here. We're going to raise about $3.3 million, and, same strategy, reposition, 3 to 6 year flip. And we're looking at the storage stuff, and I want to continue traveling. I want to, check out some more countries and, really scuba dive in, some tropical places in the world. That's my thing. And continue to impact lives of our staff, our vendors and our investors.
Love it.
Yeah,
Adrian, thanks
awesome
for your time today, man. Where can people find more about you?
So Instagram, I definitely recommend people go to my Instagram. Typically tell people when I jump on a podcast, I'd love to do, 3 to 5 calls, maybe with some of y'all's listeners for 20, 30 minutes, help guide y'all. Anything I can share, I'd love to. So Instagram, you can find me on my tag, Adrian Salazar, and you can stay posted with what we do out here.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you.
No problem. Thanks, guys.